Hi everyone, welcome to the podcast P is for Plog. So this is my weekly podcast series where I just talk about my life as a professional plogger. I think the big question is how many more podcasts am I going to be able to say that for? Because the money has run out. It has stopped. So uh, as a result, I've had to do a bit of a sort of questioning of where I'm going to go, and I'm going to be talking about that in this episode. So this is season 2, episode 17. P is for pivot. Let's get going.
Plug it and tag it and post it and bin it. Plug it and tag it and post it and bin it.
Okay, so this is going to be just to let you know what my change of plans are. So that's the reason why I pivot. I'm having to change things around because one thing that's really important to me is not to stop being a professional plogger. That is really, maybe I need to make changes and make adjustments so that I can still call myself a professional plogger. So how am I going to do that? Well, first of all, yes, the money has literally finished. I have not got enough to cover the bills now. It's as simple as that. It's it's a little bit frustrating, and it's frustrating seeing as like today I got potentially two new gigs that came, two cleanups that sort of came in. The trouble is having the one's in November, one's in October. So the trouble with that is that it's not paying the bills now. I'm getting a little bit more excited so that okay, I can see that things are trickling in. I can see that cleanups are coming. I can see that people are noticing me, that I am getting these things coming in. It's just not quick enough. It's just not the volume that I need to be able to pay my bills, and that's the problem I've got. So I'm in a bit of a sort of a crux. I think I kind of need sort of 3 months of um, struggling to be able to then hopefully get to a point where I've got a little bit of momentum going. That's what my current state of mind is if I look sort of into the future, and especially now, I think I'm getting a little bit better in terms of what I need to do and how I can do it and how I can go forward. So that's what this is about. P is for pivot. So what's happened? Well, before I get into the changes and the adjustments I made, I want to call out a little bit of a fun game, and I kind of want to do this moving forward. So I went to the Harlem Hobblers. So there's this local, just Harlem based social run group that is just so fantastic. I love doing it on Friday mornings because it just kicks off the weekend for me. This sort of 7 a.m. run with the Harlem Hobblers, and then everyone has a coffee just in the center of town before Friday starts. Now, you can do that before work, or maybe if you don't work on Fridays or something, then you can sort of just chill for the weekend, whatever your situation is. I just love it. And they also do a Wednesday evening run. I don't normally do that because it involves drinks afterwards, and with me, drinking is I'm English. I love to drink, and if I've had a couple, then I kind of like to have a couple more. I was quite restrained yesterday, which is good. But we were just chatting, and it was a beautiful run. We were sort of, and it actually sort of made me think about sort of summer. For me as a plogger, I don't know, I think other people that are picking up trash will sort of understand this is the grass gets longer in the summer. Everything just comes into bloom. Everything just gets so big. It makes it really difficult spotting pieces of trash. But so went down this one path, and there was just all this foliage everywhere. It was just like crazy going in and out amongst these just tall grasses and everything. And I was just all I could think of was, I bet there are cans in here that I just can't see. But it was a beautiful run. We had a couple of drinks, and then we came up with this sort of game, which is they gave me there were like four others there, and they've all given me a word, or maybe it could be like it could be like a phrase like plogging banana. It's not plogging banana, don't worry, but so it could be a couple of words as one word kind of thing. Yeah, you know what I mean. So they've given me four expressions. That's the word I was looking for. Expressions. So they've given me four expressions I have to include in this podcast. So my question to you is, and leave a comment, can you identify the four extremely exotic words that I need to include in my podcast that I've been set as a goal? And I think I'm going to do this moving forward. I'll just choose people at random to give me a word and then see if it's in there. Anyway, I'll reveal the answer next week. So, four expressions that I need to say. Oh, that's thrown me now. That's completely thrown me. Before we get on to pivot, a couple of bits of news as well. I think I do want to start the weekly vlog back up. I've I've got a list of all the sort of the stats that I need to do for the vlog, and I just need to sort of just do one big recap because it's been sort of 5 or 6 weeks since I've done one, and then I can just sort of get back into the weekly habit. I hope I can do it next week. The problem is I've got a couple of gigs next week that are quite exciting, including at Sale for the people that know about Sale. So I'm doing something there with um, Stadsgeld Nederland and also Heineken. It's not a paid gig, unfortunately, or rather, it is paid, but it's sort of part of my construction with Stadsgeld Nederland that they give me. That I sort of, they've sponsored me, and then the benefit for them is they can get to use me for so many days a year, and so this is one of their days that they're going to be using me for. So there's another one coming as well for the Grand Prix. So, and then that will be the end of our the days that we've got allotted, which is it's just been such wonderful having them as a sponsor, and I've loved it. And they send me on these brilliant assignments. I mean, come on, I'm not going to tell you what I am, but I'm doing something with Heineken, Stadsgeld Nederland for Sale. It's going to be epic. It's just going to be epic. So look out for that. That's next Wednesday. So that might affect how well I can do my weekly vlog. So I do want to get that going. But just a couple of things I did want to mention in here is I've won a prize. So I'm no good at getting sponsors, but I am good at winning prizes. So I've won a 360 camera by submitting a 360 camera entry, a film. It's kind of one of those weird ones, and these companies do it all the time. It's like film using our cameras, and you could win one of our cameras. Oh, okay. So it was Insta360, which I'm really loving. There's been some really good talk recently. This is a bit technical and geeky. Sorry about that, but I just love talking about this stuff. So we've now got a kind of like an Apple Android situation in the action camera space. So you've got GoPro, who were always the masters for years, and they've just fallen by the wayside. But hopefully they're coming back this year with the 360 camera they'll be bringing out soon. Hopefully they'll do it as well with their action camera. Anyway, so there's GoPro, there's DJI, and there's Insta360. And it's getting to the point where they're all so good, you just need to choose an ecosystem because it's actually the biggest benefit you get is when you're actually within a single ecosystem. Yeah, a bit like Android or Apple. If you've got an Apple phone, it makes sense to have an Apple computer. And it's the same thing with sort of Android a bit less, but you know what I mean with Apple anyway. And it's the same thing with Insta360, DJI, etc. So I need to sort of choose a side really. I'm not saying the others are bad. I'm just okay, what makes more sense to me? And I must admit I'm loving the Insta360 space at the moment. What I've currently got in terms of setup is I've got a DJI action camera, so I've got the Osmo Action 5 Pro, which I'm not loving, if I'm going to be honest. I just have had a couple of issues with it during the May adventure that just frustrated me, and that's kind of knocked me back a little bit. Although, yeah, it's a fantastic camera. Like I say, all of these cameras are brilliant. They've got their own little quirks. It's more about the ecosystem. But yeah, so DJI I've got as the action camera, and then I've got this mini action camera, the Go 3S in Insta360, and I've got the X5 360 camera for the 360 camera. So I'm kind of really enjoying the Insta360 experience at the moment. I can't say the apps are very similar, but yeah, the overall editing, the colors that you get and everything, I don't have to faff around with it too much. I just kind of like the Insta360. I'm favoring that at the moment. I kind of miss GoPro still a bit, but yeah. Anyway, so I was doing this competition. They've got this competition going, which is filming the bullet time, what they call bullet time. So I've been doing that all week, and the idea is you could win $3,000. So I was like, going, yeah, I'll do that. So I've got this sort of plan to do this bullet time weekly summary of like, this is what I did every day this week in terms of trash and plogging and running, and with a chance of winning a $3,000 prize. Why not give it a go? So, but I got a message this week saying that I've been selected as one of the winners of the camera. So I can choose a camera. So basically, yeah, film on the X5 and you can win an X5 or something. But I decided that the obvious one would be to go for the X5 and then just sell it, and that's suddenly I get sort of €400 that way. So, but still ethically that doesn't feel right. I feel like if I win this, I should be a little bit more honest and open and do something with it, because there are people there that really do want to win this camera. So it's a bit awful if I just go and sell it. So what am I going to do? Well, I said to them, I said, look, the obvious thing for me to do is buy the X5. It's the most expensive camera that I can choose, so I should do that. But I think what I want to do is move fully into your ecosystem. So I'm going to go for your action camera, the Ace 2 Pro. So I'm getting the Ace 2 Pro from them, and I said that's a little bit cheaper. Maybe I could have this little bundle with it with these extra accessories. So I was a little bit cheeky and said, look, I'm not going for the X5, but could you maybe include something extra? So they're including this lovely little clicky thing that is a cage for it. That's a really interesting thing for their action camera. So this means that I will sell the DJI Osmo 5. Yeah, I won't get such a big price for it, but I'll get a couple of €100 for it, and I'll be fully in the Insta360 space. So I'm kind of excited about that, really. So anyway, you'll see more about that. So that's something that's been going on today. I've got to finish off the story and then post my weekly summary of this sort of bullet time thing. I don't think it's going to win the 3,000 because they literally just posted yesterday someone who had the same idea in terms of a week long bullet time. So they went, this is me sitting in a car for 7 days a week. I think mine's a little bit more impactful in terms of I'm not sitting in a car, I'm picking up over 1,000 liters of trash and running and everything. But I think it's sort of the the excitement and uniqueness of doing a week long thing has just vanished because of that, because they just shared it. So perhaps I won't win the 3,000, but either way, I've won a camera, which I'm really excited about. So that's the Ace 2 Pro. So that's super cool. Oh, the other thing is I've decided to be a bit more professional. So you might see sort of, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I'm a bit lazy shaving. You probably don't see it if you're listening to on Spotify, but if you follow my Instagram, things like that, or if you know me in person, I get really lazy. I just don't shave very often. And the problem is I've got this sort of friar tuck haircut that just looks so stupid just because I'm so bald. But then at the back, I've got this strip that just comes out when it's growing long. So it just makes me look an old man. So I'm so determined um, to be a bit more professional and look a bit younger, if I'm going to be honest, to attract the companies, is I'm going to be a bit more um, frequent in my shaving. So every couple of days, I want to just sort of get the shaver out. I've got one of those shaver thingies, so I'm going to be doing that. And I okay, this is an honest moment of truth. I thought I was shaving my head like I do, and and Karen, my wife, had sort of mentioned to me that we were sitting, lying down in the sand. We just went one evening out to a bed, just lying there, and she just looked down and she said, "Why are all those hairs growing out, sort of, you know, between your arm and your body?" It was just under my arm hair, just my arm. I don't know if you have this problem, but my arm hair is dead straight, and it just grows so long. It is literally, I could tuck it into my trouser belt, is that long. So it was just all sticking out. So I thought, oh yeah, what I normally do is I just sort of trim it a bit, but I got a little bit carried away and I just shaved it off. So so I did that. So do women have this problem? You know, to the people that shave their armpits. I mean, I just did it with the the sort of machine. I didn't do it with a razor or anything, so it's not very fine. But I'm getting awful chaffing now on my armpits, and it's on a little bit on fire. Do people have that? Is that a common thing? How do you stop it? Let me know. So yeah, so that's just awful. I just really struggling with that. Oh, it was a really eventful thing. There were seagulls that were just going crazy. The seagulls at the moment here are just going absolutely bonkers. We were just lying down, and I think this is connected with trash. I think this is connected with people just littering, just throwing food on the ground, and the seagulls are just so used to it now. They were just attacking. Well, they weren't attacking, but they were literally just jumping into people's bags to get food out. They knew that in those bags there was food. They were just crazy. So that was, I mean, that was sort of one thing that happened with those seagulls. I'm also going to have to plog along there because there was a load of trash there. So I'll probably do that maybe Sunday or one day this week. I'll get up early and go to Adved and see what trash we've got in there. So watch out for that post for me. And the other thing is I am so not cool. I am not. I am just so uncool. I've got one of these bucket hats that everyone is like, yeah, everyone's trendy now. All the runners have them. Trail runners just love their bucket hats. So I've got a bucket hat. I've had it for a couple of years, and I don't really like running in it. I think I look a bit weird. Uh, but then I'm cycling along, and the little flappy thing is just going in front of my eyes. So it just looks so stupid. I'm cycling along in a bucket hat and I can't see where I'm going because it's just in covering my eyes. So the only thing I do is like lift up the peak, and I look like one of those old, those old, like pensioners on the pier at a beach that are just having their ice cream, and they've got one of these bucket hats with the sort of the peak turned up. I just look so stupid. Oh, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, distraction. Pivot. Let's go back to pivot because we're at 17 minutes. I haven't even actually talked about the subject I want. I'm just love talking on this podcast and just telling these stories, and hopefully you just enjoy listening to me, or you just go, when the hell is he going to tell me what he's going to do? Right. So the thing that I've discovered, or the thing that's really come to my attention over the last while, is that the spot, I'm just not having any take up in the sponsors. But people just don't understand the idea of sponsoring me. I don't know. I can't be explaining it very well. For me, it's obvious. You're supporting me, and you become a sponsor, a supporter for a year. That's the idea. Maybe I should say supporter for a year or something, because I don't know what you know. Went around with those leaflets and say, look, sponsor me, give me €50 and you'll be a sponsor for a year. You get your name on the website. No, not one person not one company here in Harlem of the 150 leaflets I've given out has actually done that. Not one. So either people just don't care about what I'm doing, or there could be loads of reasons, but maybe one of them is they just don't understand it. And I've got the feeling that's what's happening with brands. They don't It's just too unique for them. Sponsoring a guy picking up trash in a banana suit is just too exotic. They don't get it. They don't get the benefit, even though I think there's a huge benefit. For the people that were running last night, they were running. I was wearing a banana suit last night, and loads of kids and people were just chatting engaging with me. Having your logo on my shirt gets you seen as a company. I don't see how companies don't get it, but they don't. They don't see the benefit. It's just too unusual, outside the box thinking. And so I think what I need to do is say, okay, maybe I'm just being a bit too um, progressive too quick. I'm trying to be too progressive too quickly. What I need to do is get relations with these brands and then say, oh, by the way, look, we've done a couple of collabs. Why don't we turn it into a sponsorship? And then you get that benefit of doing the collabs, but you got a year long attention as well. So what I'm going to do is pivot. I'm going back to more of a traditional way of working for influencers and for people that sort of work within the sort of cleanup sphere. So what they normally do is they do these beach cleanups. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to do beach cleanups very often, but so what I'm going to do is focus more on events. Okay, go to companies, say, let me do this event for you. I will still do, let me go and do a cleanup for you as a sponsored post so we could do a collab. So it could be an event or it could be a collab where we work together on something. Yeah, I'm promoting your products or whatever. Yeah, it could be a traditional influencer collab, or it could be something that's about what I do as a collab. But either way, let's do something on those lines just to build up the relationship. So I'm going to be doing that. Now I said I didn't want to lose the way of life, so the I contacted the unemployment agency and they spoke to me today, and they like said, yeah, the way it works is if it's not working out, the your company, then you can go back on benefit. The trouble is you have to stop all your activity on that company and just sort of cease trading and do everything like that. And that is so I don't want to lose way of life. I never want to lose way of life. So I don't. That would really break my heart if okay, there's one thing stopping, but there's another thing closing down, and I really don't want to do that. So the so the unemployment agency is not on the cards at the moment. But they said, look, you can sort of within until 2027, you can do this, and then you can go back onto benefits. So there's a chance that if it really does fail, I can do it. So in effect, that's my absolute last option is to do that because I do not want to give up way of life. So if my money's finished, how do I carry on? Um, well, I have got quite a few gigs coming up, so I need to supplement that. I can't go back to work full time because if I do full time, I can never do the events. I can't really focus. I mean, I could do that. I could do it full time, but then I'm going to be even in a worse position than I used to be, sort of just spending all my time. I'd be spending all my time and doing it as a company and doing full time. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to be looking for a part time job. So if anyone, this is a reach out. If anyone wants me to do a part time job for sort of three or even 4 days a week, ideally three, then let me know, and you're going to be able to sort of give me a bit of income, or if you can connect me with someone that can hire me as a part-time person, can be anything, doesn't have to be all my skills. People know how creative I am. Hopefully, people see me sort of as a good salesperson as well. Well, obviously, I'm not very good at selling myself, but yeah, maybe that's not such good. Nah, you know what I mean. So if you think I would make a good fit, and again, yeah, the company's going to benefit from, hey, yeah, we hire that banana. I think it's a benefit for me being a part-time employee at this company because I'll be doing on the days I'm not working, I'll be doing the plugging and all of this stuff. And yeah, why not? Let's just get them on as a sponsor, something along those lines. So maybe that's a good fit, a part-time job. So that's what I'm going to be really focusing on now. Next week I'll start looking, trying to get a part-time job. But if anyone's got anything, just let me know. So on LinkedIn, you'll start seeing me asking around and things like that. So just be sort of aware of that. I think, yeah, hopefully that's going to be, yeah. I think that's it. So that's my pivot. My pivot is to supplement my income, and I think probably if I can get something that's not too taxing, then just carry on doing that. And I think that could be a really good fit as well. So, I really wanted to be a professional athlete, a professional plogger. I think the problem I've got there is there are going to be some, yeah, some adventures I have to change. Like I can't do the May adventure that I just did because I would be gone for a month. Maybe I can do something slightly different. I've got some ideas, but I can do these adventures that frame it around when I'm not working on those days. So there is one I've got in February that I want to do, and I can do that locally, and so that wouldn't be a problem either. So I can do that one for sure still, but maybe later on in the year I have to change my plans a bit. So there are some restrictions I'll have as a part-time employee somewhere, but I think that's the best way. Yeah, I think that the actually the UVV said it really well. They said, yeah, just get a part-time job that's not too taxing. So I don't think I really. I mean, I will go back into IT if there's a good part-time job that comes back, but I will be working. It's not something that I want to have as a career. It's something that I want to enjoy and give my heart to during the work time, but then forget about outside of the work time, if that makes sense. So for the people that know me, know that ethically, I will give my heart and soul to it during that work period, those the work days. So it's not something I will be half-heartedly doing. I'll go into it for full guns blazing. I'll be like this sort of lovely, I don't know, tart tatin, beautiful, lovely sweet work or lovely caramelization on top, and just really enjoying it. Get some whipped cream on top. No, not whipped cream because that's not vegan. Plant, you know, plant-based whipped cream on top. Oh, I can't do a tart tatin anyway because that's got the butter in it in the pastry and the fluff. Oh, well, I'll figure something out. A vegan apple pie. There we go. That's still nice. Right. I think that's about it. That's my pivot. That's what I wanted to talk about. Cleggy, hopefully I'm sounding more upbeat. I have noticed that I did get a comment this week from a couple of people saying I sounded a bit down. Hopefully I don't sound down. I mean, that was one of the things I didn't like about sitting down doing this podcast because it felt like I was just sort of being a bit downhearted. This this is still the best year I've ever had in my life. Even if it doesn't fail, even whatever happens, I'm so grateful for having done this, for having done May, for having and continuing to try. So maybe my voice sounds down a bit sometimes because of the stress of it all and the frustration of sponsors and not getting sponsors, them not understanding what I'm trying to do and trying to do together. More importantly, it's not a case of I need sponsors to do this. I want to work with sponsors so that we grow together, that we become bigger together, that we can, a bit like Red Bull. Let's take Red Bull as an example. I'd love to reach their customers, and I'd love for Red Bull and myself to have some impact, and they've got the reach to do it. So these brands, whatever your brand is, if you sponsor me, then suddenly I've got access to your customer base that I would really love to use. You can use me to say, look, we support him. Yeah, we're trying to do some good here with him, and in return, I can reach more people. Anyway, so that's the idea. One last thing. Oh gosh, it's getting up to 30 minutes. So one last thing is this week, Bear told me a really lovely story because he was on my podcast that I forgot to publish. I will publish this one on time. The one I forgot to publish that I was talking about, just be acts of kindness. That's what it's all about. Picking up trash is an act of kindness to the planet, to the community, to us, and to yourself. And so if that's just giving someone a smile and then they smile back, that's an act of kindness that makes the world better. And I had it this morning. I was like, I was in the car taking my daughter to work. I was being a bit grumpy about that. But anyway, I got to a junction and it's a bit of a weird junction. And I was too far across on the left, but it wasn't, it was like, whatever situation. I'm in a position where there's hardly any traffic here. Think of it as the country lane. No one's around. Oh, suddenly this car appears and I've got to give way for it. But I was already too maneuvered in the way a little bit. So, they couldn't make the turning into my street because I was blocking it a little bit. They had the right of way. They just pulled straight up to me to prevent me going and then just waited there, waited for me to reverse back. Whereas they could easily have just flashed and said, look, hey, look, you did something wrong, slap on your wrist, but go on. It's not going to cost me any extra time. It's not going to cost you extra time. In fact, it's going to cost us all less time because you can just do that instead of you having to reverse, make sure you go back enough place and everything. It's going to be quicker. But instead, what they did was they just sort of went in and then they just sat there and they just looked at me like, what are you going to do about it? They were in the right. Do not get me wrong. They were in the right. Yeah, I was in the wrong position in the road. It didn't really have any impact in the world. But they could have done something. They could have just been, there was a moment they could have done an act of kindness. I reversed back and it all carried on. They were really grumpy at me as I did that. They were grumpy that I was in that position. They were, yeah, they just, you know, they didn't leave any happier. If they'd have seen me out, if they'd have sort of let me go forward, I would have said, "Oh, sorry," and then smiled, and they would have smiled back, and it would have been happy. Instead, they were just so focused on me being in the wrong, and them being right, and yeah, it's so easy to do. And so Bear told me the story about this shop, this little pastry shop, when he was abroad, and it was the end of the day, and he was buying some pastries or something. And without going into the story, he was like, yeah, buying something from there and chatting to them. And they went, oh, well, look, we got this strawberry pie. We got this sort of strawberry cake. And so why don't you have it? We can't sell it tomorrow. Just have it. Instead of them saying, "Oh, yeah, buy it for like," they just gave it to him. Such an act of kindness, and yeah, suddenly he shared it on his Instagram stories. You could see that the people he was with was just lovely. It was just a moment of kindness that had no impact. It was really at the end of the day, they weren't going to sell it. They weren't going to do anything with it. It would have just gone to waste. Instead, they made someone's day. I think that was just such a wonderful story in terms of sort of acts of kindness. And I think that's really when I want to go on again. Yeah, all of this is about acts of kindness. Just go and do. I was trying. Yeah, just go and open the door for someone tomorrow. Just smile at someone and smile. Actually, no. Let's just say it this way: just smile at someone tomorrow who you don't know. Yeah, if there's an opportunity, just smile at them. Let them smile back at you. You've made their day. Well, you haven't made their day, but you've cheered them up. You've given them a positive. Suddenly, you're transferring this positive energy to them. I think it's so wonderful. Anyway, my name is Paul. This is my way of life. Sorry it went on. I was just talking too much about the Insta360 cameras. Sorry, but I'm not going to edit it. Hopefully, you got to the end. Did you spot the 4 expressions? What were they? I'll tell you next week. Bye now.